Hello students, I hope you're doing well today. We are going to start today, we're going to talk about indirect measurement. And that is one of your vocabulary words, but we're also going to look at how to solve these. And you're going to find that you already know how to do these once we start doing these. But let's fill in the blanks and be sure to write down everything I say, everything I write down rather, as well as the examples. But indirect measurement uses the properties of similar triangles. That's the reason I said that you're going to already know how to do this. Indirect measurement uses the properties of similar triangles to find measurements that are difficult to measure directly. One type of indirect measurement involves shadows, and that's what we are going to look at. And if you look at the example here, it says height over shadow equals height over shadow. In number 1, it talks about a flagpole, and it would be difficult, not impossible, but it would be difficult to measure the height of the flagpole. But using indirect measurement, we can come up with a pretty close to accurate guess on that. So I'm going to start off, let's read the problem. A flagpole casts a 32-foot shadow at the same time that Evan casts a 9-foot shadow. If Evan is 6 feet tall, how tall is the flagpole? So I'm going to start off and I'm going to draw a picture. Here's the flagpole and it has a 32-foot shadow. And then here we have Evan, who is 6 feet tall, and Evan casts a 9-foot shadow. So Evan is 6 feet, and here is our flagpole. And if you connect the top of the flagpole to the tip of the shadow, you can see here are our triangles that I was talking about, that we can use the properties of triangles. We're trying to find the height of the flagpole. I'll just call it H. So we set up a proportion. Now there are 2 ways to do it. She talks about here doing height over shadow equals height over shadow. So we'll do it that way. We have H over 32, H to 32 equals height of Evan to Evan's shadow. And we just simply cross multiply. 9H equals, and then 32 times 6 is 192. Divide both sides by 9 and we get H equals 21.3 feet repeating. Now I want to show you this same problem because we looked at it in the other triangles. We did height to height equals shadow to shadow. In other words, the height of the flagpole to Evan's height equals the shadow of the flagpole to Evan's shadow. So if we did it that way, we would have H over 6, H corresponds to 6, equals, come back to the flagpole, 32 over 9. And if you notice, when you set these up, either way you do it, you end up multiplying the same thing. So 9H equals 192, divide both sides by 9, H equals 21.3 repeating. So we get the same thing either way for those. Let's look at number 3. It says a 28-foot tall building casts a shadow that's 35 feet long. At the same time, a truck outside the building casts a shadow that is 16 7/8 feet. How tall is the truck? Okay, so what we're going to do on number 3, we are going to also draw a picture. Here is our building that is 28 feet, and it has a pretty long shadow that's 35 feet. And again, it makes a triangle. This is our building. And then here is our truck. It has a shadow that is 16 7/8. And let me show you. Let's change this to a decimal. I know that my whole number is going to be 16, but to get my decimal for 7/8, I just do 7 divided by 8. And it's 16.875. And then we want to know how tall is the truck, so I will make that H. And there are my 2 triangles. And just like in number 1, I can do my proportion like her example here, or I actually like height over height equals shadow over shadow, but you get the same thing either way. I'll do this one. 28 corresponds to h, so 28 over h equals, and then 35 corresponds to 16.875. Just a side note here. If I go building to truck in the height, then I have to start with my building next time, building in the shadow, and then the truck shadow. So be careful of your order. A common mistake would be to do 28 to h equals 16.875 to 35, and that would not be correct. So be careful with that. And then when we cross multiply, we get 35h equals, and I'm going to multiply 16.875 times 28, and we get 472.5. And then we divide both sides, that's 35. Divide both sides by 35, and we get h equals 472.5 divided by 35. H equals 13.5, and that would be feet. Okay, so there's two examples on the first page. One thing that I want to point out on number 5, it says Amanda is 5 feet. This right here means 5 feet 6 inches. Well, how tall is that? 5? It wouldn't be 5.6 inches, but 6 inches out of 12 inches in a foot, that would actually be 5.5 feet tall. So 5 feet, 6 inches equals 5.5 feet, because 6 out of 12 inches gives us our half. So be careful with that. And let's also look right here. We have Clint is 6 feet 3 inches. So 6 feet 3 inches, that would be 3 inches out of 12, because 12 inches make 1 foot. So that would be, Clint would be 6 feet, and if I do 1 divided by 4, most of you probably know that, you would get 0.25. So 6.25 is 6 feet 3 inches. So be careful with that when you change that over to a decimal. The last example I want to do, these two look a little bit tricky, just a little, not a lot. But what we have is this, it says the triangles are similar, find the distance x across the river. So we're looking for this width x here. Well, we're going to take this small triangle and redraw it where it's in the same position from here to here. Let's see. It's 15, and then we have 82.5. And again, I did not draw to scale because that really should be bigger for sure. Still not drawn to scale, but a little bit better. So with this, now we can match up 24 and 15 correspond, x and 82.5 correspond. So x over 82.5 equals, and then 24 corresponds to 15. Cross multiply and divide. I will let you finish that. And then on the last one, once again, I would take this triangle and draw it in the same position as the other one. When you label it, 80 would go down here, and you are trying to find the distance from Avon to Franklin, so you're trying to find that distance. So I will give you that hint and let you finish it from there. Thank you, and good luck with these.